Hi, I'm Tanyara,
I'm Justice,
and
this is Clarity.
Woo!
Woo, woo, woo.
Welcome to episode 3.
3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before we get started, I'm gonna pour some tea.
Yes,
Because
because we're about to spill the tea.
Oh,
So we're gonna have some tea.
and it'll make sense when you find out the topic is
The topic is
authenticity. We really laughed about that before. Maybe just us. That's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
A dried apple and chamomile blend.
One thing about us when it comes to tea, I'm like the classic tea girl, and she's like the herbal tea.
The herbal tea. We need the herbal tea blend.
Herbal
If
tea.
you add a little honey in there, Justin, she's down. She's down. Okay.
As long as it's sweet, I'm good.
She wants life to be sweet and the tea even sweeter.
Amen.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Aww.
Some people need chamomile.
Get some chamomile in
Get
your
some
life.
chamomile if you don't know how to calm down.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with, you have a definition of authenticity.
Yes.
So
I first wanted to actually understand what authenticity is, because when you hear words all the time, but you can't even
What is that?
actually define what it is to
Yeah.
yourself. So I looked it up, but I also had my own definition for it as well, and it actually matched,
yeah.
because authenticity is literally trueness. It's essentially you being true to yourself, true to your personality, your spirit, your character.
Yeah.
So the actual nature of authenticity is just honesty and like truth.
Are you being true to yourself in the way that you feel? Are you being true to yourself in the way that, like, even your body, like, do you actually do like a little check of like, no, I'm too tired to go out, and that's okay.
Yes.
Like in your body, are you being true to that? Your thoughts, are you being true to your character?
Yeah.
So yeah, just, I guess, that truth. Why is it important to be authentic? Like,
Yeah.
why does it matter?
If you're not being authentic, you are being dishonest to yourself, which means that you are living a life that is in misalignment with yourself.
Yeah.
You are dishonoring yourself, or you are abandoning yourself. So imagine how unfulfilled and miserable you will actually be when you realize that you are so far from yourself, just because you are so much closer to appealing to everyone else.
Whoa.
That is why I think it's important to be authentic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there is something about like an abandonment of yourself, like that. It's such a sad, tragic story, but it happens all the time. Like, we abandon ourselves when we put what someone else thinks of us above what we think of us. And there is this longing to just want to be loved. There's this longing to be like, oh, like, I want to be close to this person.
Yes.
And then you just find yourself like warping into what you feel like you should be, and not into what you are. And
I think the irony is that, because that's because of connection.
Yeah.
We all want to be connected to each other, but we don't also realize that sometimes that can be at a cost of us disconnecting from ourselves. Because it's like, in a way, it's hard to have both. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so some people prioritize just, I guess, feeling like they can connect to the world rather than to themselves, probably because the world also abandoned them, so they kind of abandon themselves as well.
Yeah, and I guess that's why it does start from like maybe how you've grown up, but also like there's an element of just the people you are around just in life. Because if you're surrounded by people that just like, they don't give you that safety to be like, oh yeah, like, we love you, we love who you are, but then it's up to you to actually show up as that person, because people can only love who you are if you show who you are.
Exactly.
If they don't know you, like, how are they supposed to love that?
Exactly.
So this sense of like, I guess there's this release of fear is what needs to happen.
Yes.
The fear of not being loved, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of not being liked. Like, once you release yourself of all of that fear, then you step into faith, and you step into knowing, oh, okay, I trust that whoever's meant for me will come to me.
Yeah.
And I trust that I am good enough. Like, you don't need the external validation or someone to give you that yes, I like you and what you're about.
Yeah. But I think what's sad is that a lot of people are raised in the opposite way. They are not raised to be authentic. They are raised to be agreeable.
Yeah.
It's like that's how some people are wired to actually receive love. And everyone just wants to be loved for exactly who they are. But that doesn't always happen. Like, we are taught maybe down the line that, okay, I will receive this love if I continue to do this. And that may mean I have to go outside of my needs and my wants and my desires, my personality, because I just want that love more. You know what I mean? People want to be accepted. People want to feel like they fit in somewhere, because it can be isolating. It can be lonely if you're only, you know, celebrating and like validating yourself. You want that validation. It's kind of like, I work with children, and it's that thing, like, we are literally all children, and it's like, you know, you can have a child and he can draw a picture and he is so proud of that picture, but it's like his pride is not enough. He needs someone else to be proud of him. I can have so many kids that will come up to me and they're like, oh, look what I just drew, and they just need me to say, that's amazing, you did a good job. But it's like, why don't they believe that it's a good job until someone else has said it? And that's how that's how everyone works. We need someone else to tell us that.
You have different versions of yourself that come out with different people, and that's very natural. But there almost should be like a baseline. Like there should be something that you in yourself should know that you're being yourself. Like even if like different people bring things out of you.
If there's like a spectrum, and it's like you, and it's like the people that you're around on the other end, you should not be like so far from yourself. You need to always try and make sure that you are close to yourself. You know what I mean? On that spectrum. And sometimes some people can bring you closer to yourself, and some people can bring you further away. And it's just safety. Not everyone makes you feel safe to be yourself. Not everyone's inviting of the real you. So I understand why it is, but then don't be around those type of people that make you feel like you are on the other end of the spectrum. You know what I mean? That you're closer to them.
The line is important. And prioritizing is important. It's really made me think about like just God and like all the things that he's put inside each of us. We cop out of being ourselves because we want to be somebody else, or we want to be like somebody else. And God's like, you are robbing yourself of everything that I made you to be. And like it's so much more than like the things that you do. There might be a particular job that like God really wants you to step into, connected to your passions, but maybe you haven't even actually stepped into that passion because it's connected to who you actually are. Like, oh my gosh, like I'd love to make music, but like that I'm not living authentically, so I don't go into that. And maybe God was like, you're supposed to be famous.
It's real. And I think I understand it, but I think that's why it's also important to understand God's love, because we struggle to be authentic because we want to be loved. But guess what? You are.
It feels like so typical Christian. God loves you.
But it's real. And the thing is that it's such a lie, because the need to be loved for us, for a lot of people, sadly, it's something that we feel like we have to earn. We feel like we really have to earn acceptance, earn grace, earn love. But God's love is like freely given, unfailingly given. So it's like, why do we feel like human beings, like normal human beings, we feel like we gotta work so hard to earn their love, but they don't even love themselves. You know what I mean? They're not even accepting of themselves. They don't even give themselves permission to be themselves, but you are looking for theirs to be, you know what I mean?
That's not the stamp of approval that you need. Like, I think there is something about like us really needing that external validation, but not judging where is that validation coming from. Like you want this validation from someone that doesn't like themselves, or you know, like you're so focused on what somebody else is doing that you don't see that like you're off your own path. And we were talking about this earlier, but it's like when you don't know who you are and you don't know like, oh, okay, my sense of who I am, you don't know when you're on the wrong path, because you didn't know there was a path to begin with. You're just like, oh, I'm just going through life, and you're going to all of these labels of who you think you are. Maybe you're a mother, maybe you're a friend, maybe you're a sister, but that's not who you are. Like you're full of so much more than that.
So imagine how different you would be if you started walking in that truth. If you started being like, I don't need to gain this person's approval. I don't need to gain this person's love. So all I have to do is just be myself. Like you know what I mean? When you actually step into that truth that you are so loved, you wouldn't be craving it from everyone around you. You know what I mean? It's literally scripture. Like there's nothing that can separate you from God's love. So why are you striving for it from everyone else? You know what I mean?
Why are you begging? Why are you
begging? I think that's Romans. Was Romans 8? I think it was Romans 8. Something about how like, if God is for you, who can be against you?
If God has got your back and he's the creator of this universe, he created these trees. He created every single blade of grass. But you think that the person that did this and created all the spiritual, physical laws of the world can't push you in the right direction.
Yes.
Can't find you the people you're supposed to be with. Can't bless you with the career that you want. Like, you just need to show up as yourself and God will do the rest.
Exactly.
That's it. Just be who you are.
Yeah.
Woo!
And the sad thing is that a lot of people aren't. That's why, because we are so far from God, we are so far from ourselves, we are like, we're not even on our paths. So you're literally just walking in the opposite direction. And we are so confused. And that's also why we are so miserable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because there's something deep inside us that feels unfulfilled. And it's like, but that's distance.
Yeah.
You are so far from yourself. That is why you don't feel close or safe within yourself, because you don't even know that person anymore, because you have been trying to appeal to everybody else. Yeah.
Like, imagine, like, when you come out of a relationship, or let's say you have to let a friend go, like, it's very hard, like, to let someone go, but the hardest thing is to let yourself go. Like, when you've let yourself down, you know that hurts so much more than when you let somebody else down. When you're like, oh, I've let myself down. Like, that disappointment, that's what happens when you're not authentic. Like, your soul, your spirit is like, we were made for more than this. Like, we were made to be more than this. And I think there's a level of authenticity which is a lot about spirit. Like, it's a lot about, like, you know, your spiritual gifts. It's a lot about, like, who you're meant to be, how you're meant to live. And when you live outside of that, your spirit is just like, I wish to express. Like, when we live in our authenticity, we are a physical expression and manifestation of God's goodness. So if we're able to be like, oh wow, I know who I am, you'll find people that, like, create these amazing things and show up in amazing ways because they know who they are. And so God's goodness can flow through that.
What do you think are, like, signs that someone's not living authentically?
I think I've seen it in myself, to be fair. Like, just lacking self-confidence. Like, when the confidence or self-esteem is low, probably not living authentically. Because you just have this feeling of, like, not being good enough. And it's like,
but then it's like, who made that scale? And
based on what?
Based on what? You know? That's so true. Like, even the comparison, you're like, why am I comparing myself to someone else's journey, someone else's path? You know what I mean? That's so real. And I think we're all guilty of it. You know, it's not something that we can always help. And I think definitely, like, signs that you are living authentically is when you catch yourself, like, hiding parts of yourself, you're watering yourself down. I definitely have experienced that. I experience that a lot when I have to, like, sometimes make myself more understandable to others. I always feel like I'm not understood. So I always feel like that's really important. I have to, it's really important that I am understood. So I'd rather just dilute myself so I can feel like I belong in this environment. I can feel like I'm part of this environment, because I think for me, most of the times I don't feel like that. So I always feel like I have to hide parts of myself, suppress them, because I just want to match, you know, the people around me. You know, and that's signs that I am not being authentic, and that's signs that you probably aren't. If you just catch yourself being like, I'm not free to express this, or I'm not free to show this or talk about this or feel this, and those things are honest to you, you know what I mean? But you feel like you have to, like, suppress that honesty in yourself. That's a sign.
There is that suppression. I think that's probably one of the biggest signs, like, because it has different streams. Like, you could suppress, like, maybe you have a thought that with somebody else, you know that you would share. But then you find yourself being like, actually, no. There is this element of suppression and shrinking yourself back. And I think that's a massive part of not being authentic, where it could be like how you would react to something. It could be so much bigger, but instead you don't have that big of reaction. You might want to laugh so much louder. You don't. And it's like, anytime you find yourself, like, reeling yourself back, like, and also, like, this sense of, oh, I don't know if I belong here, and you're constantly waiting for that reassurance, whereas, you know, you should be walking into a room and be like, I belong here. I know that I belong here. No one else has to tell me. But there is this thing of, like, not wanting to take up space.
And it's sad because it is learned. Like, it's not something that you just do. You know, it's actually learned. Like, we both did psychology. So if anyone did psychology, we learned about positive reinforcement. It is real. It is real. You can notice and be aware of what you are praised for, and then what you are judged for, like, or what you are put down for. So it's like, those things actually start to like those outer voices, those critics become your voice, the voice in your head. So you start doing that to yourself. You know what I mean? So it's sad because sometimes it's not even in your control, but it's just something that you've been taught. You know what I mean? That's why sometimes it's hard. It can be isolating when you actually have to sit down with yourself and be like, who am I outside of all of those voices?
For sure. Honestly, like that's why identity really comes in as something that's important, because when you don't know who you are and you sit with yourself and you're just like, oh, like you have to be able to tell the difference between who am I and who have I been told I should be. And you know, you're walking through life and you're like, oh, I want to do this thing. Oh, do I? And you know, we always say, oh, I don't know what I want. You do know what you want.
Yes.
You do know what you trust.
Give yourself permission.
Yes, and give yourself credit. Like, you've been told like all of these other outer voices, but when you sit with yourself, like what makes you feel alive? What gives you joy and what doesn't? You know, like, and don't make these choices that go against like who you are.
And your body speaks.
Yeah.
You know, your body knows. You can think, oh, like, but how do I really know that? Your body speaks. You will hear it. It's why your gut exists. You know what brings you joy. Because your authenticity will bring you joy. Because you're being honest to yourself. Your body doesn't want you to be lying. Your body doesn't want you to be abandoning it. So it's like, you will know when you feel it, and also you will also know when you're not being authentic. Even if you don't want to accept it, you will know the people that you are around that don't bring that side out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So there's like a big sign in that, in I guess like the way that you feel. Like, trust how you feel. Trust like that first like gut instinct, because you're like and then the logic will kick in and you're a bit like, oh, well, actually, I don't know, maybe it's fine. And it's like, no. Trust like what you think is right or what you think is wrong. And like just step into that, because I think it's also a learning journey. Like you'll learn as you go along. But as long as you're dedicated and committed to yourself, then you'll figure that out. And we don't get this right. I mean, I don't know.
But I think that's the point though, because you're not meant to get it right. Do you know what I mean? I think that's why, like, one thing I hate, I don't like to do as much now is defining myself, because a lot of people want to know who you are so they can know where to put you.
They want to put you, what box do I put
where
you
do
in?
I put you? Or where, or even like respect. You know, that's why some people ask you, what do you do? Because they want to know where they can, like, you know,
they say, how do I treat
you based on what your job is. You know what I mean? And that's why sometimes I don't always like to define myself, because I am ever changing. I am expansive. I don't have to decide something. I used to think, oh, I decided that I'm this, I have to stick to it. It's like, who told me that? Who told you that?
You can actually reinvent yourself as many times as you like.
Exactly.
Like, you can get, like, once you sit with yourself and you're like, actually, I don't like this anymore, I want to change that. And it's like, you know, as Justice was saying, a lot of things have been outside of our control, but what is in our control is healing. So what questions do you feel like you want people to take away?
I think that's a good question. I think something to take away, maybe to ask yourself, is how much more of myself am I willing to abandon and neglect for the sake of being accepted by others? Like, ask yourself, who am I outside, like, my environment? Who am I outside all of these external voices? Because that's who you are.
Find your core. Find your core. I love that. Okay.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. And you can find us on our Instagram, which is Clarity Within, and my personal Instagram, which is JusticeNXOX, and
mine, that is Tanyara.dzwa. Well, thanks for watching, and we hope this episode gave you
clarity.
Bye.
Bye.